Yesterday, something terrible has happened. A drone has managed to strike Cernobyl. And I'm sure that everyone knows about this power plant. It's one of the most nefarious power plants in human history. It's also one of the reasons why Europe doesn't embrace nuclear power, because this incident was actually used by environmental activists in order to prevent Germany from becoming like France and going energy independent. But if you don't actually know the details about Chernobyl, like more than seeing it in a video game or hearing it in a pop culture reference, I strongly suggest, and I can't believe I'm doing this, Lord help me, you should actually watch the Netflix, yes, I know, heaven forbid, the Netflix TV show Cernobyl. It's not 100% accurate, it's not like a documentary, but it does capture a lot of the things that have gone on with a couple of mistakes here and there. It's so accurate to the point where people who actually worked on the cleanup crew said that that TV show was haunting for them. I believe one person actually self-deleted, as the quartering likes to say, after watching the TV show because it brought back so many memories. And so, I think like that show focused a lot on not just talking about the event, but also recreating the communist mindset, the era at the time, and you can actually understand the level of human suffering that went into constructing the protective layer in order to make sure that the radiation didn't go out, the way that people were treated as disposable as they were sent to their death, what happened to the miners, so on and so forth. So like their sacrifice actually keeps a lot of people from Eastern Europe safe. I grew up exactly when Cernobyl exploded. You can call me the atomic child. A lot of people here were concerned that also the way that the government tried to prevent misinformation by cutting the phone lines. The more things changed, the more stayed the same. We were actually told that there's no problem. There was just like a small fire. But then when it couldn't be contained and it got out, they still tried to downplay the severity of the issue, and then they tried to downplay the cause of the issue. Much of it was government secrecy, so on and so forth. Again, I digress. The important thing is that the situation was being controlled with the sarcophagus. And so hearing a drone strike on the sarcophagus is extremely concerning. Luckily, however, the damage wasn't great. And this time I actually do trust the sources, because we do have much more better equipped satellite images, and if the damage was actually substantial, we would hear about it. But the question is, what happened? Like, I understand that there's a war zone there, but neither Russia nor Ukraine have the interest of sabotaging the sarcophagus, because the radiation doesn't discriminate. Like, it would radiate all the way into Poland, it would radiate into Russia, depending how the wind blows. It would radiate Ukraine itself. And so what's happening? Like, why has this occurred? Well, whenever you're in a combat zone, it's going to be a he said, she said type of story. Because you don't really have independent fact checkers on the ground, and even if you would, like, how can they assess what happened? It's an explosion there. Usually explosions don't have like a digital signature, right? And so the only people that would know what happened are the belligerents, the combatants, Ukraine and Russia. And so a lot of people online are asking, well, who has to gain from this? I mean, from the perspective of the Russians, I guess like what they would have to gain is human casualty, right? The radiations would still focus on Ukraine. It would cause the area to be uninhabitable. It would cause a lot of resource to try and remake the sarcophagus. It would cause chaos. From the Ukrainian perspective, well, you now have the negotiations between Putin and Trump. I think they're going to take place at the White House. And so they want to justify why the European Union needs to do something. It's like, look, Putin is a crazy man. He just destroyed the sarcophagus. You guys are going to be radiated too. We need to do something, right? This is pretty much what's going on right now in the media. Like, people in the West are trying to blame the Russia. People in the Russia are trying to blame Ukraine. Here's what I personally think happened. And again, it's only speculation at this point. There isn't that much news. Like, the event recently happened. We don't have an official confirmation. But what I personally think happened is that this may actually be just a crazy individual with a drone. Either a soldier that went rogue, or an officer that went rogue, someone that may have a political agenda. Like, maybe they do try to influence the negotiations one way or another. But I think it's someone that's basically acting rogue. And I'll explain why I think that this is the case. If it was Ukraine, like if this was like organized by the Ukrainian government, and they actually wanted this thing to blow up, I think it would blow up. I don't think it would have been a small fire. Like, the Ukrainian military has the capability, if they want to actually do damage to the sarcophagus, not a small explosion. Like, it would have been a consistent and quite significant damage to the sarcophagus if this was supposed to be a red flag operation or something like that. On the Russian side, however, I don't see the interest in them doing any of the sort when the peace negotiations are going to happen, when is it? A couple of weeks. And so they may want to see, like, okay, what's being discussed at the peace negotiations before they make any other decisions. So, and not to mention, like, for 3 years they haven't attacked the power plant. Like, the war has been going on for a while, and they haven't thought about attacking the power plant. Like, why would they do it now? When, again, like, they may actually get what they want. I don't know what Trump is going to negotiate. Like, no one knows. But it may actually be a deal that the Russians accept. And so why would they jeopardize it, right? Like, why would they go into the negotiation with a weaker hand by showing that, well, the power plant has been targeted by one of their own? And so, again, like, the more likely scenario is that a third party has done this. And by the way, like, a third party may not just be like a rogue agent. Maybe it's a person working for another government. Who knows? Again, I think that the whole purpose of it was to raise concern in Europe. It's like, look, the Russians are crazy. They're insane. Now everything is radiated. Like, we need to put a stop to this. That's the way I view it. Or there's another possibility, which I don't know how likely it is because I'm no expert, but could it be an accident? I don't know if this is the case because I have no idea if drones are supposed to even fly in that area. Again, the whole thing is that it is one of the points where neither side wants to see damaged, because even Russians themselves, like, first of all, like, the whole purpose that Russia is in Ukraine is because they want to govern Ukraine. They don't want to govern over the ashes, because if the Russians wanted to govern over the ashes, they would start carpet bombing. They would have changed the tactics of warfare. They would have constantly targeted infrastructure, like they would have constantly targeted power lines, and which they have done so, by the way, but they would have done it at a much larger scale, at a much more stronger scale than they have up till now. And they would have attacked Cernobyl by now, right? Like, that would have been a primary target if they generally want. They won. But I don't think that's what they want. I think they want to actually govern the place, and so, like, they still want the streets operational, they still want the power cables to be easily fixed and repaired, they still want the railways and bridges and stuff. And so it doesn't justify, like, why would they damage this power plant when it would probably be them also the ones that have to fix it. And so the idea of a third party being involved is a lot larger. Or being an accident. I can't rule out any, but I'm leaning towards, like, someone else being involved. Still, I'm pretty sure, like, we're going to find out more in the coming weeks. Unfortunately, I would say that Ukraine is still under fog of war. It's very difficult to know what's actually happening there, because the only way you can know if both sides agree. But since both sides are in a disagreement, it's a he said, she said type of story, and then you can look at, you know, who has the motivation, who has, like, the plausible reason to do something like this, and what do they have to gain. Anyway, right. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.